Stay tuned for an all-new All Hail the King featuring Karolina Dean. What is up, YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and I want to welcome you to episode 47 of All Hail the King. In this video, we're going to feature 3 battles and 2 teams for Karolina Dean. But just before we get into the action, I want to invite you all to check out the From the Helicarrier podcast at www.thehelicarrier.com and also on Blog Talk Radio /From the Helicarrier. There you can find all the current podcasts and All Hail the King segments. And one last thing, if you want to catch past All Hail the King segments along with brand new video, then check out my second channel. I'll put a link to the playlist on the screen right now, as well as a link to a video in the outro. Now, as you can see, our first match is already underway, and there are a few things I want to say about these teams. For this first one with Rocket and my agent setup, you can get Karolina Dean her stacks of Empyrean energy in a hurry. In fact, it could be a pretty amazing setup if you get that perfect turn order. But really, that can be said of most teams. What often tells you a lot about a team or a setup is when you get placed in a not so perfect situation. And that is what we're going to have in this match. Still, let me tell you exactly how this one's supposed to go. Or at least how we would like it to go. Rocket's level 1 energy attack Blam can be fired multiple times in a turn, and it's often going to be fired after a follow-up or counterattack. Every time this happens, Karolina Dean will get a stack of Empyrean energy. This increases her attack and causes her level 9 to do a lot of damage. Then my agent has the Rook, which is an energy attack that fires 3 times in a row. It should also trigger Blam, so you're getting 3 stacks from the Rook alone in one turn. Not to mention anytime Rocket Raccoon uses Blam or follows up your attack. So on paper, and in reality, when it goes right, it sounds pretty good. Unfortunately, things are never that easy. Whether the enemy has the Mystic, or they use Hailstorm from the weather control device, or even if they just have favorable turn order, it can make things very difficult. Oh, and by the way, Empyrean energy can also be removed, so I really hate that fact. At least right now though, things aren't going too bad for my team. I absolutely love using his level 6 early, even though it's not an energy attack. That way we can start triggering Pyrophoric. Also, we've added the bursting AISO to it, so we are absolutely ready for any Invisible Woman team. Unfortunately, when you're ready for it, you rarely get it. Speaking of matchmaking, at first I wasn't even using the synthetic cube, but I faced so many teams with the Mystic that the Mystic Shroud was really starting to get to me. So I threw on the cube, and wouldn't you know it, we face a beast team right away. So yeah, no Mystic here. But one problem that I do have is Karolina Dean is almost dead, and since this video is focused on her, I felt like I needed to do something to try to keep her alive. At the same time, I really wanted to use the Fire Tornado, especially since it does trigger Pyrophoric. So that's another really cool combination. Get anyone that can place Pyrophoric on the enemy team and use it with the Fire Tornado. Oh, and I don't want to downplay the exhausted part because we are facing tacticians. So I felt like our only option was to use the Light Fantastic. In retrospect, I wish I would have fired the Rook instead. Not because Karolina just got destroyed, but I think it would have been the better move. Now at this point the match started to look like a real nail biter, but at least we do have Rocket Raccoon and Pyrophoric. Because of that amazing debuff, I decided to trigger it as many times as I could, and with that we do take down the enemy agent, and we place Red Hulk in a dangerous situation. By the end of this, he's definitely going to die to dots. Then Pestilence Beast, I'm guessing, is going to attack our agent. That's just what the AI normally would do. If that does indeed happen, Rocket should live, so then he should be able to win this match. Alright, so here it is, the moment of truth. Beast does attack our agent and he misses, but we still die to damage over time effects. However, Rocket barely hangs on, and with that we can use Blam and trigger Pyrophoric some more. Now talk about a close call, we're going to live with 1500 HP. Beast, well, he's not so lucky. After that Pyrophoric, we're going to use a Murder Jew and just outright finish him. So there's a match that didn't entirely go our way, which does happen a lot. Still, we managed to win, and that's all that matters. Now in this second match, we are facing a pretty tough Pestilence Beast team, but I'm liking our turn order a little bit better. One thing that can make a huge difference, I mean a massive difference, is our agent going before the enemy agent. That's especially true because of the GG prototype, and the main way to shut that down is just to exhaust the enemy. I see it so often, and if my agent goes first, I exhaust them and their strategy is done. Otherwise, I may be in for a pretty serious problem depending on who I'm using. If I'm using my A team, I should be okay. But if I'm trying out different teams, it can be really hard to overcome. Oh, and the other cool thing about this turn order is we're going to fire the Rook, and we should get its full effects. Plus, Karolina is going to get all those Empyrean energy stacks. Every single time it's fired, she'll get a stack, and then Rocket should join in at least at the end. When he does, she'll gain another stack, and the agent's going to suffer from Pyrophoric. So that's a great start with the enemy agent severely hurt. But I know I'm getting ahead of the action a little bit. The most important part for us, because we're using Karolina, is the fact that she already has 4 stacks of Empyrean energy. Next, I'm going to try to give her Shield Slam before hopefully doing some big damage. By the way, one team up I should have used and I didn't is Captain Marvel. She could give Karolina Dean Rally, which makes her buff action a quick action. That would definitely speed up this entire process. Instead, after this team up, we do have a special shield team planned, and I think it's going to be pretty good. If you listen to the podcast, you already know who it's going to be. But anyways, back to this fight. At this point, it's going to be Empyrean Energy Overkill because we're using Blam to place radiation exposure and cause Pyrophoric on the enemy agent. By the end of this barrage, he should be taken down. Then after that, we only have Skirn and Beast to deal with. It shouldn't be too difficult, but Skirn can do quite a bit of damage. However, as long as we keep her exhausted, she won't be able to use her burst of speed, and therefore won't get 2 attacks in a row. Now there you see we have 5 stacks of Empyrean energy, and now we're reloading with Rocket Raccoon. After that, the enemy Beast uses Masque of the Red Death, and that's the end of his turn. That's of course because of Fire Tornado, which at this point, we're just going to spam on the enemies. Then here's where one weakness to this team and setup does show up. There's nothing else we can do on our agent's turn. That's a terrible predicament to be in. That's why I'll probably switch out the Rook for a different energy weapon. But now on Karolina Dean's turn, we should have used her level 9. Instead, we go for her level 1 to try to get her some more buffs, and She-Hulk objects. In fact, now Prismatic Shield is going to even be off of cooldown, so that's going to cover her next turn as well. You know what though, I promise you that we'll finish it with her level 9. Because of hesitation and the lack of weaponry on my agent, the matches with this team take too long for me to like it. But if I switched a few things up, I know it would go faster. Still, my overall verdict on them is there's too much that can go wrong with this team. There are too many ways to counter Rocket, and then you have Karolina who's a blaster and you have to worry about that as well. Because of all the variables, I wouldn't use this team on PvP, but that's just me. In fact, if I wanted someone similar to Rocket, I would just use Iron Patriot instead. But hey, I still love the little guy. In fact, he's going to drop Pestilence Beast with a Murder Jew, and then we can still use a Blam on She-Hulk. Then after this reload, of course my agent can't really do that much, but the Neuro Purge will be off of cooldown. So we'll use that quick action, then the Fire Tornado, and it's up to Karolina Dean to finish this match. And I tell you what, She-Hulk always tries to object, especially when she can't stop the action. Okay, but my agent misses his turn, so now she does get to use Burst of Speed. Luckily, the AI uses her abilities in the wrong order, so she doesn't even take down my agent. And lastly, Karolina Dean's going to finish her off with an Empyrean Flare. See there, I always deliver. Now for this final team up, we're using Magneto, the Master of Magnetism and Shields, along with Karolina Dean. Now the reason we're teaming these two up is because he actually does have energy attacks. His level 1 and his level 6. That means that even his preemptive attack is going to cause her to gain Empyrean energy. Then on top of that, his magnetic field will of course help out with Shield Slam. Plus Magneto can do a lot of damage. We're going to place the Ionizing Augmented ISO 8 on his level 6. That way we add radiation exposure. And then his Heavy Metal can actually be a one-shot ability. I'll be honest with you, the fact that his level 2 can stun and still does so much damage I always thought was crazy. Hopefully we get to see it in this fight. Also, because he has the Quickie ISO and he's going after Karolina Dean, we can overwrite her shield with an even better one and still maintain shield slam. At least that's the plan. Then with my agent, as you're seeing right now, we're using 2 pieces of the cybernetic set, the blaster and the cannon. The blaster is a quick action, and the cannon has something called Malignant Ice. Malignant Ice says quick actions become normal actions, so it can really help shut down the enemy team. It also comes in very handy for those without the weather control device. For now, I'm playing it safe and I went with both. Oh, and check out that Graviton Well. It does a very nice amount of damage, put radiation exposure on the entire enemy team, and gives Karolina Dean a stack of Empyrean energy. Next up, the enemy Quicksilver's unfortunately going after Karolina, and the agent follows up with a Cosmic Cardinal. Now the funny thing about that weapon, oftentimes when Quicksilver or whoever else it may be attacks, and the agent fires the Cosmic Cardinal, it'll actually heal back the damage dealt. This was not one of those cases, unfortunately, but they did break our shield and that gives us a turn right now. So with that, we're going to unleash her Empyrean Flare, and that attack takes down 2 of 3 enemies. Null knocks her out with a Fatal Fist, but we're easily going to win this match. And that's going to bring us to the end of this video. I would like to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take care.